All right. And partnerships and outreach update, attachment number 4. All right, if not,
Move approval of the consent agenda.
then moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we will move into the general agenda. First on the list is finance report, attachment 5.
Yep. Me. I don't have Karen, it's there. I don't have Karen to lay back on this time. So we're still on doing good for our budget for the year. You'll see that we still have the contingency from FY25. We haven't touched that yet, so doing good on that one. Questions, I guess?
When we look at credit hour lab fees,
Mhm.
are we going to, is the projection to hit 100%? Are we gonna lag there?
So we brought the budget on a pretty conservative estimate. We pretty much always hit. This year, we're raising our conservative limit a bit because of enrollment trends. But we try to make sure that our budget is developed on a number that we will hit and hopefully go over. I think in the 11 years I've been here, we didn't hit it only once, and that was COVID.
And can you remind me again on the federal grants and contracts, we're at 29%? It's just, we haven't exercised something that we will.
Just had a drawn down, it's the adult ed funding and then. Anyway, those are, I think it was.
One question I had was regarding the nursing funds from Via Christi. I think we might have had some discussion about that if I remember right last month, but just kind of as a refresher, why that's dragging behind considerably from what it was a year ago.
Part of it is we haven't put in requests for additional funding. We've been getting by on what came in last year plus some for this year. Also, it's been a little more difficult for them to get some of the pledges in this year. I met with Vern a few days ago. Instead of 145,000 a year, we brought it down to 125 for the next 3 years. Pretty confident we can hit that. But so far, we've been able to hit the targets without eating that. The goal over the 5 years is to where we've increased revenue in healthcare to that amount, so it becomes self-sustaining. They're pointing that we'll succeed with that.
Is there a limit or a what the funds have to be?
The funds are designed to help us attract and retain healthcare professionals, both nursing and allied health. That's how we have used them.
And Wamego or just here?
Wherever we're delivering.
Wherever. So when we get to the grant thing, is that a good time to talk about?
For instance, we use those funds. This is our second full year with those funds. It allowed us to hire the second full-time CNA person. Help us for seats in that program.
And I see on the total debt schedule that it now reflects the refinancing being paid off. And then if I remember right, the amortization on the construction loan begins in, is it May or June? June. Okay. Any other questions or comments related to finance? All right. Operations. Facilities.
We got your tuition and got your tuition.
Oh,
Tuition.
sorry about that.
You got actually.
Yeah, attachment 6, sorry,
Right.
tuition and fees.
This one is an action item. You know, every year we come to you with our recommendation on tuition and or credit hour fee increases. This year I'm asking both at the same rate. It's the only thing on revenue we have any control over. While the legislature passed a budget, frankly, everybody's still digging into what they actually passed. And the governor has until, I think, the 8th or 9th to do her line item vetoes, et cetera, and then the veto session, I think, is scheduled for April 10th. The good news is we don't have anything near the scale of reductions, decreases in state appropriations we had last year. Remember last year, they cut almost 17%. They did not restore anything. The base operating grant stayed level, so we're getting 1 million instead of the 1.5 we had 2 years ago. So we're still trying to fight to get that back in at some point. Most of the other funding has been level with 2 exceptions. For some reason known only to being the community colleges worked with the regents and the legislature and reduced the appropriation for Excel and CTE, the funding that helps pay for high school kids to get tech courses. That's been reduced by 25%. The legislature's had some concern while the enrollment's been good, the appropriations keep going up. What is the real results? From the tech colleges, the results are right on target. Great success, pass rates, completion rates, et cetera. But, and this is not to blame anybody on the secondary side or on the 2-year college side, over the years, the program's been so popular with the high schools that the counselors have had trouble keeping up with screening the students per the legislation. And so a lot of students have been taking the classes to get out of other classes at the high schools. So the legislature did put in some barriers this session, going back to the original legislation and tightening some things up. In the past, freshmen or sophomores could have it paid for through that funding. That will no longer happen. They can still take the classes, but they have to pay for it. In the past, if you failed a class or withdrew, take it again and they would pay for it. That's no longer true. If you have to take it a second time, you're paying for it. They're also tightening the limits on what's called, the high wage, high demand. So for instance, why should they pay for cosmetology? That's one of the big arguments right now between the community college and the legislature. So we're unsure of the impact when you tighten up who can take the classes, but again, a 25% cut in that appropriation. Whenever there's not enough funds to pay what it's supposed to be a reimbursement back to us, it gets prorated. And of course, in our case, we pay a lot of it 383 in the other schools we work with because it's on site there. So we're prorated, they get prorated. In the past, the regions have submitted a supplemental budget request in the fall to get that funding back to make up for the gap. The legislature in this year's bill is capping appropriations at 50 million. It can never go over 50 million according to that proviso. So again, it's going to be different. I think a lot of the changes are for the better to make sure we get students who are really committed to taking the tech class for a good reason and not just getting out of speech class. We'll have to see the financial impact on that with our partners. The other one that was reduced is called a student success funding, and it's never was intended to be permanent. They cut it by 50% this year, and it's the last year we'll get those funds. And that's just to help us push more with student success, retention, completion. Otherwise, we have level funding related to capital outlay. Tiered and non-tiered classes are fully funded. And the business apprenticeship funding is fully funded. 2 years ago, Senator Billinger added all of the 2-year colleges in for basically depreciation, buildings, upkeep. Last year that got prorated. This year it's back at the full amount. So every 2-year college gets 100,000 toward that, which just helps us supplement capital outlay. So overall level funding with a couple of what ifs to be determined based on enrollment. So on tuition and fees, again, the only thing we control, and we'll probably have to make that a lot bigger. I can see it. We've got quite a range there of level, 5%, 7.5, 10, 12.5, and I think we even have 15. All right. And I would encourage you to consider approving either a 10 or 12.5. Our increases have never stopped enrollment. Our outcomes are good. The students know they're getting a good paying job. But this is the only thing where we have some control of what revenue we're gonna get in. Let me stop there. Let's see if anybody else wants to add any comments related to rising costs that never go down. Or questions, comments from the board.
You have an idea of like per program, what kind of cost implication that is, like per semester, per year, per whatever? Like, I know you've got the averages down there, but for a welder, it adds $1,000 to the degree or whatever the number is. Do you have that?
It will add approximately, well, it depends upon the program fee, correct?
Yeah.
I think when we looked at the numbers before, this kind of an increase is gonna add it up to between probably 1,200 to 1,800 more per program.
And that's. Okay.
So
But from the from the 7 tech colleges, we're in the middle of the pack because again, since none of us have taxing authority, all of our tuition and fees are higher.
So to piggyback on what Heather is asking. Seeing an increase in tuition, I understand, but also being able to see. Our return, not the student's return, our return as a business, as we are, of what we're paying our teachers to teach this class. What other expenses, are we making money? I mean, or are we losing, and how often should we revisit that? Because a lot of times we see it as a big general picture. Sometimes maybe we need to lead through some things to be more efficient.
And we do a cost benefit analysis per program. So we're taking a look at, are we making money or not in those areas? In general, tuition is helping us pay for operations. Credit hour fees help us pay for some specific things related to our software costs, et cetera. Program fees help us pay for our faculty, but also the supplies in their areas. And again, like in welding, steel and gas don't ever stop. The last cost benefit analysis we did probably 12 months ago. Every program was in the black except 2. One was in our computing area, which we had suspended so we could revamp it. So we stopped that one. The other area in tech ed where you will never make a profit is on registered nursing, the ADN level. The costs exceed what you're bringing in. You make up for it at the PN level because of the prerequisites they have to take, and you make it up on the gen ed side. But in all my years in higher ed, 40 some years, I've never seen an ADN program make money unless it was one of the for-profit that charges a lot more.
So by saying that, that kind of means that maybe we always need that grant from.
Well, we don't always need it. We are getting a state nursing grant, but this coming year, we're going to start looking at variable tuition by program. Because a lot of colleges that do workforce are looking at what are you going to make in income, and we're going to adjust the tuition that way. We haven't done that yet. We've adjusted more on the program fees because of the cost students have incurred on the program. So probably by next February, we're going to hit you and start educating you on, we're looking at these various tuition variables with an updated cost benefit. 11 years ago, when we finally did the first cost benefit analysis, I think this place had done it years, of the 14 programs we had then, we had 6 that were in the red. 4 of those have been discontinued. Right now, the profit margins on the programs, a couple of them aren't as strong as I'd like, but they're in the black, so we're not bleeding anymore. But that's one reason we want to go for an increase, is to justify and stabilize those costs. We have to pay more for all of our employees, faculty or staff. 2 of the last 3 years, all we've been able to give is a one-time stipend. I don't like doing that. We hope to find out Thursday, I believe, what our health insurance rates will go up. I'm scared. We factored in the worst case scenario, we hope at 20%. But a 20% increase in our insurance costs is equal to probably 1.5% COLA increase.
Yeah.
So this kind of looking at a little higher tuition and fee structure helps us hopefully balance that. So we can look at some kind of a COLA that handle those insurance costs.
On the fee side, they pick up a lot of our software maintenance. Utility and things like that. What we're seeing on the software side is. If we can get into a 2-3 year contractual agreement, it's great, but every time it's time to re-up, there's all the graphic increase, which I'm sure you've seen. Especially as a lot of our software as a service, more subscription model. And the software is, it's really a push on the fee side for sure. Emily and I are working on, one of the fees is the technology credit hour fee that is specific to that, and it's really good. It's pretty hard this year, just based on that, we haven't added anything really, just they increase in software pace.
Was there a break even on one of these? In other words, when we project the increase in costs? You know, like is the 5% to break even, the 10%, what?
It's hard to say because again, we don't know some of the increases.
But our best guess.
My best guess is 7.5.
Where do we compare with the other technical colleges on our tuition, or do we know that?
Well, I don't know what they're raising to. Past year, we were number 4 out of 7.
And
We usually stay in that 3 or 4.
that we will want, that's what we want to see.
Well, it's never hurt us. You might remember a few years ago when I testified to one of the legislative committees, one of the legislators looked at me and said, I don't want to give tech colleges any funding. Your students get good jobs and make good money.
So I guess the thing is would I pay more? If we are, if we are the school of choice, I guess, you know what I mean? It's kind of that,
If you raise, like, if
Yeah.
you're number
Right.
6 out of 7, do you lose students or
Right.
do you still get the same number of students? Like, as opposed to being 4, like, that's the crystal ball question.
right,
But for demographic purposes, pretty consistently over the last 10, 11 years, 85% of our students come from Gary, Potawatomi, Gary, Clay, and Riley counties. We don't get very many beyond that. The tech colleges are, while we can go outside our service areas, the bulk of all of our students come from our service areas. It's close to home, good employment. Fort Riley, we're handy. Well, the cost so far has never been a factor in people going, I can't afford to come here.
and about 50% of the students that I talk to in our area, they're a lot of, are bounce back, which means they went somewhere else and came back. So I don't on that, I don't know that tuition is, I mean, I'm sure it's some part of the conversation, but I think otherwise it's how can I be successful and have a job?
And for several of our tech programs, I don't know the exact number, I think 6 or 7 of them. They qualify for the State Promise Scholarship, which is last dollar in, so you don't have to take loans. And that program has been super successful, and that's what the legislature is tying, like the Excel decrease, they're tying it back on programs that fit that Promise Act. So there are more resources in place than ever before to help scholarship students.
And if we decided, like I said, to go with one of the 15 or 0.550%, do we think that we would, again, crystal ball, would be able to hold that for 2 years,
My holy grail, that this poor person here, along with financial aid, our holy grail is to get where whatever program you start with, that tuition and fee is locked in as long as you're in that program. That's what I want to get to.
But I think, and we don't know for sure, but if the state would say state level next year, we got our new programs up and rolling. Unless a hammer drops next year, shouldn't be.
We just need to do another significant increase.
Right.
Should not.
So you mentioned tuition revenue, the credit hour fee revenue, but you also mentioned program fees, program fee
Right.
revenue, but that's not included in this spreadsheet, correct?
Correct.
It's
Yeah,
not.
Emily and Carrie work that programs individually, class by class, and go through any specific expense. Sorry, Emily, I'm jumping in, go ahead.
That's okay. Yeah. Yeah, so Carrie and I have met with all of the programs to determine increases that they may need for the next year just to cover some of their costs. So whether that's books, burn materials, or printing costs, those kinds of random things.
Specific softwares that are just for that program.
Right,
So not
toolkits.
institutional.
Those are what roll into those fees.
No proposed change to the program fees that currently exist based upon those discussions that you had.
There will be changes. They're not significant and they're not consistently across like a 15% across each program.
We're calculating those just to cover the costs, not get
Right.
profit.
Program fees never been brought before the board before. The other thing we're hoping, and Chelsea's here, so she can swear that I said this, representing the faculty. But one of our goals is to work with the programs so that we can help them save some of the program fee money for big ticket items in the areas. You know, like if EPD, buying one of those bucket trucks, that's $250,000 or more investment for us to do. If we can work with Justin to where we could look at possibly leasing a truck for 3 or 4 years. We have to look at some things like that that are kind of outside the box thinking, some of those high costs.
Besides, excuse me, besides health insurance, are there any other expenses that you guys are estimating that are coming up?
Property insurance went up some, the cyber insurance is what always cranks.
Yeah, hopefully that's leveled off, but yeah, property and cyber could be a small percentage, but I don't expect anything drastic.
And some of our, this benefit changes take place next year in our match for our faculty and staff based on tenure of employment, but that's not a significant change.
All rising costs.
Are those items, your insurance items, are they renewing here in the next 30 days, 60 days?
July 1.
And we're still, like I mentioned, we're still gathering some of those. We have our meeting Thursday, either tomorrow or Thursday on Blue Cross Blue Shield. And what those costs look like. I know our Delta Dental, we don't pay for any of those, but those premiums went up again, so.
Employees pay for dental and vision insurance.
Correct.
Our Blue Cross, to remind you, we're grandfathered in. Better plan than the Blue Cross Blue Shield employees can have. So we pay 100% of our employee costs under that grandfather plan. We'd be capped if we try to charge the employees anything, it's capped. We can only charge 5% or we lose the plan. And we have discussions with our employees almost every year because the plan is the cost for a spouse and or family keep going up. That's out of pocket for them. The pharmaceutical plan, if you will, is very good. And we look at other options and you might save the first year, but they can't guarantee beyond that. So grandfather plan has some disadvantages, but it has a lot of advantages.
We have the same thing and going through those.
Can we change? Let's look into it. Now we're not gonna change.
Seems expensive until you get have to look at what's on it.
So you're recommending 10 or 12 and a half?
Yeah. I personally would love the 12.5, frankly, because I like, we're getting in a more financial stable position than we've ever been in the last several years. We want to get that Wamego property paid off, get ahead of schedule paying this off. There's other opportunities, I think, coming. And if you look at Healy's, if you will, DECAD is the one thing that's everybody's talking about that's not going to be as touched by AI. Where you're going to find the plumbers, the carpenters, the mechanics, the nurses. I think we're in a better position than we've ever been for the future.
So the extra 235,000 from 10% to 12 and a half is just there to spread across where we need it? Or do we have a, you know, like, what we do for 10 and if we could get to 12.5, if the board approves 12.5, we do this much more or?
And we'll be doing negotiations with our bargaining unit before long. We don't know what fall enrollment will be. We're getting applications. It feels good. Almost every year with our bargaining unit, I say, you know, we have to look at how much advance on credit hours do we come in at? Because credit hours is what builds the budget. I think this past year we were at 9,000 credit hours. And we've typically built the budget off 8,500 credit hours. This year we bumped up our budget development to 8,750. And conservative. And while we might hit 9, you know, we don't hit 9,000 until both fall and spring is in, so we never know for sure about spring. It's better, it's an easier one to guess. But the unknowns on some of that are how many students drop in that first week when they can get a refund and we don't keep anything. So the extra funds, as you will, that these might increase, but part of it, I would certainly look at all of our personnel. We need to see if we can do some kind of raise better than a stipend. If health insurance goes up 15 to 20%, which I think it will, then that's going to be a 1.5% to 2% hit as far as what a COLA would be. We have to make some investments, not so much in adding that many more people, but we have to take a hard look at how to do better automation of stuff like that. And that takes special expertise that we have to do on a contract basis, consultant basis. And we don't have time to try to do it all ourselves when we hit the target. Also, with the Lumina project and some others that we've been working on, we've got to step up our marketing game. Right now, we're only budgeting 30,000 a year for marketing. We're probably last in the state among all institutions of education, period. And our ability to do more with our programs, to do more customized training, credentials, the micro credentials, the badges, that whole enterprise, we got to look at how do we start committing some resources to build that out.
I think John brought up a good point. If we could maybe get the feedback from you guys going forward on what the, say that if the break even point 7.5%. So that difference goes into a bucket, and we know we got health insurance coming up, we've got property insurance, we've got security insurance. Other what ifs that you guys are going out there, so that it's not just, you know, we're proving this 5% extra, if you will, but it's not necessarily being accounted for in some manner. I mean, I know it all gets accounted for, but at least maybe it helps us gauge next year, what's the ROI?
Our kicker on our timeline is we need to try to get a decision on tuition and fees now because we have to build out the tables for the coming enrollment.
No, I'm with you. I'm just saying if
Yeah, it's just a
difference
guess.
tonight.
I mean, to me, there's a couple layers, right? There's the ROI piece. There's what's when they graduate for the students, what's their starting salary? What can they afford? What are those fees? I was trying to remember back to like K-State, if, you know, I feel like the architecture fees were higher than, you know, a business degree. I don't remember that. Maybe it was just those additional program specific fees, but
Academic,
yeah, if somebody can make more day one than somebody else, can we charge more for those credit hours? But it would have to be those specific classes, obviously gen ed, it's all be the same.
That's what you're trying to get to, though.
Yeah,
Every one of our tech programs on our website, you can look this information up.
sure.
Go back a page.
But then the additional layer of like the ROI for the organization.
But we have to be very transparent with the students. So you'll see this for every program.
Yeah, but then how does that translate to this chart?
But our practice is we get the tuition and fee information from you. We'll have the state appropriations finalized before our next board meeting. I hope. But then we're gonna come to you, as we've done in past years, with a provisional or interim budget. Fully in May. Where you're gonna see where we've put some of those funds. For instance, last year we had that contingency funds that we haven't had to touch yet of several thousand, $400,000. Those of you that have been on the board a while, it's like, wow, how'd we do that? We don't do the final budget till after we bring you the contract with Barton. That's usually in August or September. But when we bring you that interim or provisional budget, you'll see, based on your tuition fee recommendations and our estimate on credit hours, where we're plugging those differences in. But this kind of information is available on every one of our programs. We do get dinged, all of the tech colleges in Kansas get dinged by the feds for being high. Because they don't factor in that we're not a community college, we don't have taxing authority. Every year we have to send a report back to the Fed saying, we don't have local taxing authority. If we had local taxing authority, our tuition would probably drop by 40%. We probably have a real enrollment problem.
I guess I'm trying in my mind, there's some questions, there's just no way to answer. I know that too, you know, I look at the 12.5 and then I look, or the 10 and I go like, gosh, you know, now I gotta pay $4 a gallon for gas. I'm going like, you know, when's the point when I look at the college and go like, I can't do that? Now, we can't answer that, I know that, but that's what kind of bothers me as we go through this discussion.
But we're also having to pay the same amount for gas to go out and recruit people.
Yeah, I know. It's just hard to know. I think, Brett, I think we're, you know, if we can get each year a little more, if we hit here, this is what extra we'll do, and if we hit here, this is what we'll do. That'd be very helpful.
If you want me to hone in on what I would ask you to consider, at least 10%.
I don't have a preference on the 10 or 12, Jim. I take your knowledge and what you guys need for it. I'm just going by if you think that the break even point, which I totally agree, 7.5%, that's probably just inflation in itself. So that's the break even. If we're gonna add another 5% to that, what in the college is gonna, you know, yeah, take care of that. Is it the health insurance? Is it these other things? So that we know as a board that this money is going to something specific.
Yeah, so if we estimate on our 20%, again, that's worst case scenario on our Blue Cross Blue Shield increase. It doesn't, the 10% doesn't cover that, 168,000. In additional costs.
Last year, we only had 12% health insurance increase, but we were one of the lowest increases around. I doubt if we get that 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
So for us to make the 10% pass tonight, if the health insurance goes to the max. Cause
yeah, again, that was just what Peter and I had talked about as a worst case scenario being 20%, but plan for the worst and hope for the best, right?
which is exactly what you guys should be doing. You just wanna know that, hey, maybe it comes in at 15 or.
Yeah.
So is this an if then recommendation, you know, if insurance comes in at X, we're recommending 10%. If it comes in at Y, we recommend 12.5.
I think there's a timing issue with that though, sounds like, I mean.
Well, that's what I wasn't sure what that timing and overlap was, I guess.
Not opposed to accepting a 12.5. I mean, like you said, our employees, they do great work. You know, last year we had to rent almost half a dozen. Like I said, 2 of the past 3 years, we've been able to give stipends. I want to keep people, we have good people and I want to attract cost.
What did we do last year? I don't remember.
say we did what, 7.5, I think, just on tuition.
Wasn't there a cadence of every other year?
Every other year. We're still recovering from that big cut last year. Frankly, I'm amazed we've been able to not touch that. We sure have ideas for it, but we haven't touched it.
Well, I would say that based on the discussion, we're probably at the point where we need to entertain a motion for either option. I would open it up for a motion for a recommended tuition and credit hour fee revenue increase.
Can I ask one more question?
Absolutely.
If you go back to Emily's budget, the cash flow budget that we looked at earlier.
Wait, see, so you can see that easier.
It's page 17.
So Brett, just to, while we're pulling this up really quick, fast calculations, but a 15% increase in Blue Cross Blue Shield is 126,000 on us.
The student tuition, the budget this year, $2 million. Is that close to what's in that spreadsheet we were just looking at?
Yeah, on the bottom there, don't you? Go back to the tuition fee when again.
Yeah, so we
5%.
estimate that we'll reach 90% of what this calculation says.
Or for enrollment?
Yeah.
Sure, makes sense.
Yeah, so this one says 2.348 and the other one says a little bit less than that.
So could there not be another? I get it, it's arbitrary, but I think it gives us, the board, an arbitrary bucket into the student tuition. Student increased tuition, X amount of dollars over and above the 7.5% that's there. Then you can track it as you go through the year of the unexpected expenditures, if it's health insurance, if it's property insurance, if it's different.
Say that again, sorry, on the cash. We'll track it differently.
So that there's a clear line item saying, okay, our increase is 10%. But here's our number, our bucket number. And great, you know what? We really needed that when we look next year.
And we can show that to you when we come back with the interim budget. The projection then on what you approved and what we think enrollment's gonna be. And then we can update it in the fall after we see enrollment, so we give you a more accurate picture after fall enrollment.
And for clarity on the enrollment numbers here, last year we did the estimates on, the budget was created on 8,500 credit hours. This year we went up to 8,750, so that's what this basis is on. So we did account for an increase in enrollment.
And next year we'll have 2 new programs with the electrician program coming on. Bring in all minimum enrollment. Figuring that.
I think the other thing we should on the proposed increase is not only the anticipated increases in health insurance cost and maybe some property insurance cost, but also the fact that the principal amortization is going to be getting also on the debt related to this facility, and so you need to take that into consideration as well.
Because right now that base grant of $1 million a year, that's the first thing it goes towards is building payment. Pick up the difference of our revenue.
Any other discussion? I would open it up for a recommendation and the proposed tuition in or our increase.
Mr. Pinch Runner, Chair. I would be in favor of 12.5% increase.
Tooth.
Have a motion for 12.5%. I mean, yeah, 12.5% increase. Is there a second?
Yes, I.
I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. Continue to be good stewards and accounting for the resources.
Thank you.
Good discussion, by the way, and appreciate all the feedback and operations, Josh.
So we did a RFP, we put out the bid on the furniture for the new computer support program. The old program in there, we actually had been utilizing the old CAD desks from many years ago from the CAD program. So they're quite aged, but they serve their purpose well. This RFP went out to be able to, we wanted to have workstations for 24 students in the lab area. And we worked a lot with the new program instructor to try to get a nice functional layout to really get what would work well for instruction there. We were in talks with three kind of informally, but we ended up getting 2 submissions back. From Sistema and then John Marshall, which we've worked with in the past over here as well. The equipment was pretty comparable. What we could tell design, and then we saw some samplings of what they were gonna provide. They came in significantly less cost. They do have 12-year manufacturer warranty that covers all parts and labors. We were happy with, we've worked with them in the past, so. And that's really pretty good success all around, so. We are requesting to fund this out of capital outlay. That budget's still doing really well for this time of year. This would basically, if we go forward with this tonight, we get it landed here over the summer and then we'll be ready to go for them in the fall.
Kind of a related question, but kind of a sideways question. Is the program nearing the last step of approval?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, but
It was approved by TEA this month, so it'll be on the K board consent agenda that day. 95%.
Okay, thank you.
kind of a room layout here, so this is kind of really in their lab space, and if they come through this hall, their general classrooms layout spaces over on this end that we already have outfitted, so this is really gonna be more where they're working on their lab projects, servers, hooking up the switches and doing all those kinds of things. So the old furniture is still in there currently, it's just, again, it's pretty rough, so this is just gonna be upgrading, replacing all of that.
Did I read it right? Is one of them half the other?
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
bothers
Yeah, that
me
got
when
my
that much
attention
difference.
too. I wondered, is there like a quite significant difference in quality or what's driving that?
So the stem, from what we gathered, is definitely the high-end kind of Cadillac enterprise business level where this version from John Marshall has a lot of education use. We found where they put it in some other colleges and things, so I mean, the warranties are the same and everything, so I was kind of shocked too that they were that far apart. And the third one we were talking to, I can't remember their name now, but they seemed like they were somewhere toward that higher end as well.
So I know that college has purchased some other items from John Marshall in the past. Have you had any issues with functionality or quality or anything like that?
No, we had a couple little, a bracket or something, a couple things, I mean, just some common use type issues, but the nice thing is the service and they come in and did the warranty and everything, all that was really clean, so we were actually pretty nice with that, but. Yeah, I think it's stuff in years from them as a reseller.
Any other questions or discussion? Entertain a motion for approval.
Moved.
We have a motion for approval of the recommendation for John Marshall, and is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion for approval and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. People update, who's speaking on that?
I'll speak to that. We had the reappraisal done of this building that was requested from the bank. Same third-party company that did it. They just did a reappraisal and an update. So just some highlights from that. I tried to put here if anybody wants to see the full appraisal, I'll shoot it down to. But we're at the entire appraisal put together is at 17.5 million. The good news to that is the 2022 projected as complete one they did. We actually are over that by 1.6. So we're quite a bit higher than where they're projected. A lot of that comes down to the land value. The land value underneath went from 2.33 to 3.66. Reflecting market appreciation, right, improved site utilization, they highlighted. The best use is still confirmed as a technical college operation, but that alternative future use and flexibility remains for office, lab, light industrial warehousing. So overall, I think it was good news. It helps our balance sheet a little bit. So it's a debt ratio. Questions on that? Or again, if you want to see the full one, I can sure send that out.
Is the bank gonna require you to up your insurance to match this?
I think, I know I sent it to over there to Summit or to Charleston and Wilson, and I think from their standpoint, we were already good. But I will verify and double check.
Typically, the bank isn't going to require that the insurance level be anything more than what the debt is that's owed against the property. And it's up to the owner to decide on whether they want to insure it for more than that based on value.
Why did they ask for this?
Well, I think the driving factor was that there was one in a building, one of the lab components of the building that was not finished out according to the
Critical in that area.
This isn't gonna be every 3-year thing to reappraise, okay?
And just a reminder, the critical environment tech one, because Scorpius didn't come through, there was not the rush to finish that. With the rise of the AI tools, that whole aspect is changing so fast. We're gonna explore more using AI, VR, AR, and real hardware. Couldn't afford to keep up. I don't know, these two guys have some ideas on that space. We'll come back to you.
Yeah, I have a question back when we get to this topic, back where we were. No, the motion's fine. I have a question on that. But maybe it's a board discussion, or maybe there's something in the bylaws that tells we have to do this. But when you have a budget for capital outlay of 1.466, and you've only used 33%,
So
why do we have to approve an expenditure that's been budgeted?
So that number is misleading this year because the Patterson grant, which was like 675, somewhere in there. So normally capital outlays around from the actual states around 400. That Patterson and I think another grant got lumped into that budget line that makes that look much more inflated than it has been. But also to your question, I would love to not have to bring all these to you, but that is the policy is written that way now. Anything over 25K.
Okay, that
which
answers it. That's good. I'm sorry I went back.
Which we're open to adjusting. But
Good. I'm a big, if you budget, you know, and
Right.
you tell us and we approve a budget.
Yeah.
You tell us what you're spending,
Yeah, it's.
but that's why I forgot the policy. Good deal.
Yeah, anything over 25 has to go out for bid, and then brought to the board for approval. Is the way it's written now.
Good, thanks.
So is the appraisal issue just a reporting item and not something that needs any kind of approval? Yeah.
FYI.
Any other questions about that? All right. Faculty Senate, attachment 9. Have an attachment.
I don't think I have an attachment 9.
No, there wasn't one.
Okay.
Brian usually brings it the day of.
So I'm not completely off then. Okay. Hello, I'm Chelsea Weiss. I'm standing in for Brian today. I know you're very disappointed. Don't get to see him today. I'm actually the Faculty Senate recorder, so I'm still involved. So for some updates, I do have some things regarding gen ed and adult ed because I'm also involved with that as well. I teach chemistry in the gen ed department. And Marcy Fickbaum and I have taken over the science courses that were filled by a former employee. And we both agree that it's been challenging. There's quite a lot there. However, we've been able to identify some areas of improvement. So we've been working on that. For adult ed, we just started our second cohort this spring. We have 12 students. There are still 8 students from January's cohort. We're waiting for some completers. Students are testing, but they don't have any completers just yet. We also, our adult ed team participated in KAEA, which is Kansas Adult Education Association. We went to a conference in February. We had 3 awards awarded to our team. Brian Cook was awarded the Master Adult Educator for 2026. Beth Dugan was awarded with a Distinguished Service Award. And we also had one of our students, Frances Vale. She was awarded the Outstanding Adult Learner for 2026. So we re-ranked in the awards there. I also gave a presentation about our GED science program. We're the only institution that offers a dedicated GED science class. Most of the other institutions kind of tie it in with other areas. And so I was able to promote what we do and talk about how we promote skills like reading comprehension, writing, and calculations. I was able to share what we do. In addition to that presentation, I also have been able to work with Justin Meerworth. He is our VR specialist on campus. And with the adult ed students, we did some career exploration using the technology. The students conducted a short survey, and then they were able to narrow down a potential career path that they could use the VR for. I did ask the students what they thought about it, and overall, they thought it gave them an opportunity to look at things they hadn't considered before. That's all I have. Does anyone have any questions for me? I do teaching, so I love interacting with everyone. Oh, man. Oh, someone, no, I'm just kidding. Thank you so short.
We'll see.
Thank you very much.
We're not used to short and sweet.
Come back anytime.
We should. See if that's the right way to have this thing happen every
We
day.
have a new representative.
Right, looks like we have no updates on academics, is that correct?
I just that update from the computer support specialist program passed the TEA and it's on the board
Under consent.
under consent. So.
Moving into policies, we have attachment number 10 and 11.
So I'll cover these today. Carrie's under the weather, so just a whole lot of attachments, so we'll just go one by one. So these are a lot of just updates from going through various things. The first one is 4.1.3. faculty and staff computer usages. The last time it was updated was July 29th, 2009. So some things have definitely changed since 2009. And then attachment, just reflecting, just updating with how we use our METC's official email, our learning management system, and our various computing languages that we have for expectations.
No, it's just
Yeah,
FYI.
these are just FY, this will just be FYI, so question. Try to answer them.
Happy to write them down for Carrie.
All right, hearing none, I'll go on to 4.2.4. There was an error on here just because we had so many different attachments. Attachment 12 is correct. That is the old policy from 2016. Josh is gonna pull it up on the board. The new revised one will be attachment 13. Only difference was we missed a math calculation on a table in the middle of this one for laboratory time, and Faculty Senate was nice enough to catch that for us. This policy is just updating the time that students are, the contact minutes and outside work and all these other things. With the different changing federal requirements and HLC, we just did an update, so all this is just updated to meet current standards that are submitted. The main things to focus on here would just be the lecture times with 50 minutes for contact time, instructional time for 15 weeks over a semester, 50. And then all the math is for each one of those tables. And then the laboratory time, and more specifically in this update, if you can scroll down to the next page, is the clinical occupational work experience internship practicum, just clarifying what if it's a multi-hour class that we need about as clock hours for someone to just job site in clinical setting. And I don't believe any other thing.
At the top of that one, it does have a line up there for president / board of directors approved date. We update as a motion to approve.
Well, I can do it.
Okay.
If they were new policies, we'd want your approval. If we were deleting them, we're just gonna show you the revision.
Next one is policy 4.2.10. This is just the meeting time and place of classes. This was an older one that was, again, from 2005. It was kind of a carryover from previous, from this kind of the school district era. Reviewing agency policy again. We were able to actually clean this one up to fit how blended classes work, how our hybrid classes work in business. And then cleaning it up again. The main overarching thing is we set what our line schedule before each school year, and we follow the line schedule, which has the meeting locations, the times, and then we find the federal guideline where the break is. I think it's 100 minutes. There's a 10-minute break last meeting.
Any further questions or comments?
Perfect, thank you. What the last one, I believe, I hope it's the last one. Yep, perfect. 7.3.3, faculty credential levels and minimum qualifications. HLC did do an update a year ago. And they added in the language of, find it, sorry. Progress towards academic credentials. This allows us to, in emergency basis where we could bring in someone instead of having a master's degree, that's obviously the preferred. But if we had no one to operate a class, we could bring in someone who's maybe taught or has a bachelor's degree in that field, has taught for many, many years, and can work towards a master's by taking a class or two in those areas and get graduate credits, and then we can do that approval as long as we have the documentation for it.
That's for Gen Ed.
For our tech programs, we already had that flexibility in there. If someone were to come to us with a bachelor's degree or no degree, but they have worked out in a 30+ years with excellent experience, they could come in and teach a welding.
And again, no approval necessary.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, for 16 was the old policy, 17, attachment 17 is the,
All right.
Viewing and revising policies and procedures is the never ending.
sorry to hit you with 4, but.
Nothing regarding student services
No, I think so.
or resource development.
Monitoring reports. Board terms, we have one current member will not be seeking renewal. Heather informed me and I shared with her, all of you help us more than you may think. Heather's questions have been so good for us to have, as with all of you, but she's got the family. I've gone through the things we all have where you have kids and obligations and doing things like this gets harder. Tell her, you know, things change down in the future and you want to come back, probably take her application. But Heather, thank you for letting us know, but thank you for helping us too.
When is your term expiring?
End of June.
This summer sometime. I just didn't feel, I've have not been present and I don't feel like that's fair to all of you. And yeah, 2 active kiddos. I know you all have been in this stage of life and just want to be fair to the organization, so.
Yeah, my update, Carnegie classification is kind of cool. My to-do list. We get to share this on all of our publications website. This is pretty cool because there aren't that many institutions in the country that get it. Carnegie changed their classification system last year and we were notified of this. This is really honing in on the fact that our students go into high wage, high demand jobs, that ROI, we're in the top tier ROI. This is a pretty cool deal. You will not see every institution with this. You will see very few universities with it, frankly. So I wanted to bring it to your attention. On to I gave you homework. Every year at the president's session, which is what I go to as accreditation, they share this publication and they see as the big trends, the big issues facing presidents. Frankly, yeah, we are in very good position for all of the crazy changes that are happening. You know, the student loans are moving over to Treasury. That's probably not a bad move. Financial aid disbursements, on the other hand, are going through the Department of Labor. Perkins grants we're still getting that. Adult ed is still coming through. Will it go through in the next federal budget? We don't know. But the big news from the Higher Learning Commission, which is the largest accrediting body currently existing, is that they're much more open to how we can be innovative. They discussed that they are working with colleges, showing how they are tracking non-credit training into credit training. You show the outcomes and the skills. So again, if you'll excuse me, our lack of bureaucracy and governance can be in our favor on this. We start putting together some new ideas. Actually, it's existing ideas, but get them into action. So overall, we're in good shape for accreditation. Kim is here. She and Carrie also went. They stayed for the whole conference. I got out of there after 8 hours of the president's session before I strangled somebody. Kim, you want to give a quick summary of some of the stuff you learned?
The majority of the sessions that I attend focus on institutional research, how we can better use our data and different ways to integrate our data into decision making. So I attended a lot of those sessions, which is the most exciting thing that anybody can sit through for 8 hours a day.
And then we attended several, Carrie and I both attended several sessions on the responsibilities we have for reporting different things at an academic level to HLC, as well as some new sessions on competency-based education and how HLC is changing how they're looking at competency-based education. So back to how we can tie in the, non-credit to credit pathways. And then looking at competencies and how we can officially document that appropriately.
I anticipate within the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to be coming to you for approval on submitting our first competency-based education programs of study for review and approval. You've heard of Southern New Hampshire University, Western Governors University, et cetera. We're in better shape than a lot of those places because so much of what we do is outcomes. It's demonstrated skills. And I think from the little bit I've been able to interact with Carrie, and I know Carrie talked some with Chris on this, and I think Kim sees it too. Putting in that competency-based track allows us to accelerate students who are really motivated and really getting with it and do more with internships or apprenticeships with employers, fast track more students into the workforce. Previews of what will work. Any questions on accreditation? Oh, Bill squeak. Earlier today, the Kansas City Animal Health Corridor announced that Axiota Animal Health, a global leader in cattle health solutions, announced it will name its facility located in the corridor in Wamego as the company's global headquarters. So they have to crank up the critical environment tech program yet. An article this past week in Fortune magazine had this headline, which I thought was cool. Plumbers regularly earn more than lawyers. A top entrepreneur makes a bold prediction that AI will flip the American dream and the trades. Coming back to the legislature, Thursday, I'll give a report to the Tech Education Authority Budget and Finance Committee on how we use our base operating grant. That's our accountability mandatory reporting we have to do. And again, ours is pretty easy. We use all those funds to pay for this baby. A couple surprises in some of the legislation that was passed with the budget. One, we're still digesting and hoping maybe the governor would veto it. But there was concern among a lot of the legislators of double dipping on things like Excel and CTE and other concurrent between the school districts and the colleges. So they passed a bill that will supposedly limit what we pay to the schools for education. However, it has a per credit hour fee that's higher than a lot of the colleges are currently paying high school teachers. And it mandates a COLA each year, which I don't like because I've never been able to guarantee we could do a COLA. And a few other features. So we have shared all of our information to our lobbyists, and hopefully when they do the veto session, we can maybe get that change. But that's one that kind of reared its ugly head. I'm sure the K-12 districts are not happy with it either, because frankly, it may violate a lot of their bargaining unit contracts with their employees. See.
Did it pass for with less than a veto proof?
No, it had veto proof, so I doubt if it's going to change. It's another example. They mean well.
Yeah.
Fix is worse than the problem. Next year we'll work on changing that. The budget stuff seems fairly level, which is good news. The other thing I will throw out is that all the indications I'm getting the last few days, my testimony on outcomes or performance-based funding, guess what? The cat's out of the bag and ain't going back in. So now the two-year colleges will be rushing to put together their proposals on outcomes funding. I'll be working with my colleagues with the tech colleges to see if we can't put something together that's better than what the community colleges offer. So we got it through the Senate Education Committee to the Senate floor they're on general orders. I already talked with Senator Starnes and Representative Steele, and we'll be working on it over the summer, early fall to get more information. Senator Moran was going to come yesterday, got a late call. He couldn't come after all. He did get us $244,000 federal funds for our industrial maintenance tech program. We had requested $750, but hey, I'll take $244. We'll get it back sometime. Anything else in those areas?
And what program did you say that was for?
Industrial maintenance tech, which is the fastest growing tech program in the state nation, frankly. One where Smithfield donated some major equipment. We're seeing good interest in all of the tech programs. Nursing applications have been strong, correct, Neil and Kim? Better caliber of applicants. Again, it's that buildup after COVID. We're finally getting back to some good quality applicants in full cohorts. Glad to answer any questions or receive any comments you want to make.
Can you talk about,
Oh, yes. Yeah. Chris and Pam, would you please share about the Wamego project? That's how I delegate.
Rural health, partnership plan. We are working on a $2.1 million grant proposal in collaboration with the Wamego Health Center. Its purpose is to create a rural health care professions accelerator at our Wamego campus, to train, upskill, retrain folks, as well as creating more robust pipelines to address rural county deficiencies in healthcare providers. We've targeted 4 counties, rural counties, Pot, Gary, Waubonsie, and Marshall. We've gotten a host of supports from everybody from the Marysville School District to Flint Hills Regional Council on the proposal, and Chris. I mean,
No, that's fine. So it's accelerator. We obviously have the Wamego Center. Building 2 is really already set up for this. We're talking with Brian Howells, trying to meet the need of upskilling folks who may already have these things, but they're trying to fill the positions that are. A lot of times an example that I've used before is surgical techs. We are short on surgical techs, but we're also missing a target audience because a lot of folks don't even know that they really exist. Well, we have a target audience. CNA folks have some of that base knowledge. They're missing some pieces. So could we offer something to a CNA partner that has sterilization, tool recognition, and these other classes? They get these additional classes, and now they could qualify to start in those positions. So we took that model and we're putting that at the Wamego Center to have classrooms. We're looking at high fidelity mannequins, at least 6 or 7 of them, between
6
adults,
of them
juniors, and
that are
babies.
generative AI functioning.
Looking at using Dreamscape, Learn, which is the big VR thing that we've experienced out in San Diego or in Arizona a couple years ago. Using AI to increase the introductory pieces. So this is all set up so that we can possibly even start a PN cohort at the Wamego Center that serves the surrounding counties.
And I think also part of the sell is we're trying to that regional healthcare providers will be working together on training. So if you're a county healthcare facility or a regional healthcare facility and you got 1 or 2 people, you never really can get training in certain areas for them because of the low ends. So allowing that pooling and collaboration to happen, which would then, create what the grant's intended purpose is to really create, flow through and collaboration in those regions.
so we turn in the grant application, or does the hospital turn it in? We turn it in.
The Wamego Health Center is our partner.
Oh, that's fine. I was just, yeah. I'm on the Wamego Hospital Board, and that's where I come from to this meeting. And we weren't sure who was turning in and what.
Senator Moran introduced this bill for some time back, and he requested 15 billion. When it came back through, it had 50 billion. Everybody jumped on thinking it was a great idea, but it's federal money to the states. So we submitted to a state group for consideration. But it's supposed to be going on over the next several years, so hopefully we'll get this. If not, we'll take the comments, see what else we can do. If we do happen to get it, we'll be hiring a few more people because of the grant funds, because there's a lot of work to do, a lot of data to track. In addition to the healthcare professions, we also put in related to the facilities. Clinics, hospitals need, where again, we fit in with HVAC, industrial maintenance, et cetera. Hopefully that gets a little extra boost as well.
Thank you.
What's the timeline for submission and
It's due this week, and then it's got a pretty short window on approval.
Mid-May for approval. They need to get the money dispersed. It's gotta be all encumbered by October, so, they're moving on it because it's the Fed still down for it, so.
you guys pulling all nighters?
And then John, tomorrow Christian Bishop's coming to visit with Josh and Chris and I on a facility DCIP project.
Yeah. I know what that is, but I'll talk to you. offline.
Healthcare related.
Because I wrote the legislation at the federal level for that program. I know just a little bit.
Okay. Susie and Harry work together. We'll have a foundation trustees meeting on the 20th, I believe. So we've got a foundation handbook, scholarship information, Grow Green's coming up. This year, the donations for Grow Green will go in support of the Flint Hills Community Accelerator Childcare Business Incubator. Also, we would like to move the May board meeting up a week because Memorial Day, move it up to the 19th, if that will fit of schedules for us to form. Memorial Day week is the following week. And we would like to entertain having one of our board meetings in the coming several months at the Child Care Center. Community room. So I'll see that as well. Then we'll plan another board meeting for Wamego.
We've already. No executive session, you said? Anything else related to calendar dates? Okay.
Signing day is April 16th, I think.
CTE signing day that we do. At 1 o'clock on the 16th. Or this pin, that's one coming up in May, for anybody that can please make that. Blade Mages will be our method.
If that is all, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Then there a second?
Amen.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Thank you.